Vairishi Ka Khalsa, Vairishi Ki Fateh. I'm Gurpreet and welcome to the Sikhlens YouTube channel. Today our guest is Harinder Singh, an active member of the Sikh diaspora in the UK. Harinder has published stories from the Sikh world for children. He has also conceptualized and compiled the recently launched book published by Sikhlens called Jewels of Sikh Wisdom, A Journey of Discovery. Harinder is a regular participant in interfaith dialogue forums in the UK and has also recently been involved in producing Sikh-centric 3D animation films. Welcome, Harinderji, to Sikhlens.
Thank you very much.
I believe your talk is going to be on Love Thy Neighbour and Oneness of Humanity. So what does Love Thy Neighbour mean?
Gurpreet, to me it means that all humans are made in the likeness of God, with unique characteristics compared to all other created things. This concept of loving thy neighbor is firmly embedded in the DNA of all religions. But my talk is about this from a Sikh perspective, and I shall endeavor to do so. Firstly, just generally talking about loving thy neighbor, I'm sure we will all agree that this is not and should not be restricted only to loving one's neighbor. It is an all-embracing concept, which is also not just restricted to human beings, as is commonly assumed. No, this concept encompasses the entire creation. But for us earthlings, let me restrict it to loving our planet Earth, which means loving our fellow beings, environment, animals, plants, insects, etc. As we are now painfully aware of global warming and the disastrous effect it is having throughout the world, intensity of floods, uncontrolled fires, glaciers melting and causing sea levels to rise alarmingly, thereby threatening to wipe out entire coastal villages and communities, and even countries like the Maldives, even advanced countries, have not been spared. Look at the flooding in Germany and other European countries, and also floods in UK itself, the devastating fires in USA and Canada. All these disasters are happening because humans have become selfish. It's all about me, me, me. What we fail to realize that what we sow, so shall we reap. It's a boomerang effect. If we carry on poisoning our air, water and earth with pollution from factories, vehicles, heavy pesticides for farming, etc., then the result will be that we are heading towards slow suicide because our vital bees and birds that pollinate our plants will be wiped out. And without these pollinators, we humans will suffer greatly, leading to massive starvations and deaths. This is a wake-up call for humanity.
Harinderji, what is the Sikh perspective on oneness of all humanity and love thy neighbor?
Sikhism teaches us that loving thy neighbor and humanity can only come about if we understand that we are in one way or another all interconnected, which is basically oneness of humanity. To understand the concept of oneness of humanity, I will start at the very first page of the Sikh scriptures, the Guru Granth Sahib. The opening symbol is Ik Ongkar, as you can see from this beautiful slide by the Singh twins. Ik Ongkar, on a superficial level, it means one God for humanity and all of creation. This symbol has the numeral 1 in front, rather than the 1 as a word, so there is no confusion that everything starts with 1. This visually striking symbol of Ik Ongkar introduces the one all-embracing origin of everything that exists. It urges us to see the divine pervading everywhere, to revere creation and see God in all, to respect differences and yet seek cohesion both outwardly with others and also cohesion with our spiritual self. In this way, it prompts us to ponder on the core of our own identity. Every so often, we all wonder about our origins, be they biological, cultural, or geographical origins, the origins of a group we feel part of, or even the origins of life on earth. By sensing a connection to things beyond ourselves, we feel a certain wholeness and start to form many layered identities. Ik Ongkar invites us to notice a more essential origin, glimmering beneath these layers, for we are all connected to the divine, even if unconsciously. To nurture this connection brings a more fundamental sense of wholeness, which can permeate and transcend the many connections we make in the world. Everything begins with the number one. When we learn to count with our fingers as children, usually we start with one. Zero means there is nothing, but as soon as we say one, something exists. Now and then we might ponder, did everything appear out of nothing, out of an empty zero? For Sikhs, there is always an awe-inspiring one at the start. In Punjabi, it is written as one and called Ik. The numeral one, the sacred symbol known as Ik Ongkar. This symbol holds the essence of the teachings founded by Guru Nanak, which Sikhs cherish as a divinely revealed treasury. As you can see, this beautiful slide of Ik by the Singh twins again. The first character of the symbol identifies an infinite oneness, the root and return point of all that exists. A single, indivisible, divine consciousness, by whose grace everything is interconnected and sustained. It underlines with profound conviction that one eternal reality exists and that everything exists because of this reality. It also encapsulates what Guru Nanak had taught during his vast journeys to all four corners of India and beyond, that our differences are to be honored as part of this oneness. Sikhs believe in a single divine force that created this world and resides within it. For us, the entire world is permeated by the divine, and we aim to see and honor God in all that we encounter. Serving humanity is prayerful action, and standing for dignity and justice is living a life of love. Service, justice, and love are the core values instilled by the Sikh tradition. Guru Nanak used many names for God to engage with diverse people, such as Har or Hari, Ram, Allah, Khuda, and Bhagwan. Yet no established names for God are expressed in Ik Ongkar. Instead, the numeral one transcends the differences of geography, gender, culture, and impressions tied to different religious traditions. Ik is often said to represent the one formless creator. Ong then represents the energy of the creator's presence, with its sacred vibrations resonating everywhere across past, present, and future realms of time, and all seen and unseen realms of space, like the waves of a latent pulse, a melody, or a song. Kar evokes the countless processes and forms of creation which stem from the single creator consciousness and energy. Kar also means the outline of a protected zone where everything is lovingly held together by divine grace, as indicated by the symbol's elegant overhead arch, whose tip points towards infinity. Guru Nanak was the first of 10 gurus who founded the Sikh faith between 1469 and 1708. Since then, across changing eras, there have been many attempts to translate Ik Ongkar, which majestically opens all the teachings of the sacred scriptures, which Sikhs revere and respectfully address as Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Phrases like "there is only one God" can imply a creator who is separate from creation, who is out there rather than part of everything, who is my God rather than your God, or wholly opposite to the different forms of divinity that human cultures have perceived. Contemporary explanations such as all is one reality is, or one force, realign in new ways with this richly expressive scriptural symbol. In the end, there is no substitute for returning to the shape and sound of the original. Ik Ongkar is then followed by the Mool Mantra, or the basic root belief for Sikhism. This is also composed by our founder, Guru Nanak. The Mool Mantra is the root chant which holds the essence of all Sikh teachings. O my mind, you embody the divine flame. Recognize the root of your own being, says Guru Amar Das. More than an impersonal force, God is depicted in the Mool Mantra as a personality with two founding qualities, nirbhav and nirvair, without fear, without enmity. Where there is oneness, there is no other to be fearful or vengeful towards. When we regard others as unfamiliar or alien, the opposition or the enemy, it is easy to emit vibrations of hate or fear, whilst the egocentric self carves lines of separation between us and them. The spiritual self sees from a perspective of underlying connection, embracing the twin values of without fear, without enmity. We learn to work from spirit of kinship and solidarity. Meditating on the qualities of without fear and enmity, we learn to notice and diffuse inner vibrations of fear and hate, and as they inevitably arise. When fear and hate lose their force within us, the qualities of love, compassion, and courage can genuinely take root and radiate. Ordinarily, we understand our lives through celebration of a birth, through knowing about a parentage and having some awareness of our inevitable death. These all bring some meaning and value to our lives. Yet, whatever our life circumstances, the Mool Mantra brings into our lives another level of meaning and value, which comes from realizing we are part of the One who is undying, unborn, and uncaused. We are in fact energy. And physics, it said that energy never dies, it just takes on another form. The story of Guru Nanak's enlightenment tells us that Guru Nanak disappeared after going to the river to bathe before his morning prayers and was presumed to have drowned when villagers found his clothes lying on the river bank. The story goes on to reveal how far from drowning, Guru Nanak had been taken by divine messengers to the abode of God, where he received spiritual enlightenment. And after reappearing 3 days later, he uttered the words, "Na koi Hindu, na koi Musalman," roughly translated as "there is no Hindu, there is no Muslim." This is interpreted as a declaration of equality of all in God's eyes, a belief which underpins Guru Nanak's message of universal peace and love. Interfaith coexistence was his message wherever he went. He was a spiritual revolutionary who dared to condemn casteism, idol worship, and superstitions, and advocated equal rights for women, going so far as to say that without women there would be no humanity. By having a Muslim and a Hindu as his close confidants, Guru Nanak projected the concept of one humanity and the importance of coexistence with all communities. He introduced langar, community food that was and is to this day offered free of cost to everyone, irrespective of their caste, religion, creed, or color.
I see. Thank you, Harinderji, for that really wonderful explanation of oneness from the Sikh perspective. So you spoke of langar. So is langar, the community kitchen, or what is commonly known as free food, still practiced and available in Sikh gurdwaras around the world?
Oh yes, you can walk into any Sikh temple and partake of free, delicious vegetarian meal cooked entirely by volunteers. In fact, in the UK, there are many Sikh organizations such as Midland Langar Seva, Nishkam Seva, SWAT, Khalsa Aid, a UK-based Sikh charity which has provided disaster relief in Albania, Turkey, Somalia, Iraq, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, and made headlines in 2014 when British Sikhs helped the Thames Valley and Somerset flood victims by delivering sandbags, food, and medical supplies to those affected. Gurdwaras or Sikh temples from USA, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Asian subcontinent, in fact all over the world, Sikh organizations have provided free food packets to millions of people during the course of this pandemic. This is true service to bring the concept of langar onto the streets and to help the homeless and those suffering from disasters. More recently, Sikh organizations provided free food to firefighters in Australia. During the devastation of the pandemic in India, even relatives were unwilling to pick up their kith and kin's bodies out of fear, and it was left to one Sikh, Mr. Shanti, and his team of ambulance drivers to ensure dignified funeral for thousands of people in Delhi, free of cost, despite himself and his family contracting COVID on more than one occasion. This is what practical interfaith living is all about.
Langar is not, in that case, just free food. It is also any service or the giving of anything freely that is needed by the other party, by anybody who is needy, to give of them freely. So in that case, what are the principles of Sikhi, or as the British called it, Sikhism?
Yeah. The three golden principles, as they are known, is Naam Japo, Kirt Karo, and Vand Ke Chako. Naam Japo is, of course, meditating on the divine name, and Kirt Karo means work hard and honestly, and Vand Ke Chako is daan, to be able to give charitable work, to do charitable work like free langar or medicines to the needy and so forth. And from this three golden principles, the gurus themselves practiced them. Totally. The ninth guru, in fact, sacrificed his own life to protect the Hindus from persecution and to uphold the principle that all beings should be free to practice their own religion without coercion or forced conversions. For his troubles, he was beheaded in Old Delhi, and this incident forced the Sikhs to become a martial race and defenders of the weak and downtrodden. The Sikh scriptures are unique because they not only contain the hymns from 6 of the 10 gurus, but also hymns of 26 Hindu and Muslim saints. This makes the scriptures multi-faith.
The three principles that he spoke of are a very practical way to live a fruitful, truthful life. So that goes on to the next question. You spoke of the interfaith message. So what is the interfaith message from this Guru Granth Sahib? Is there a hymn or any other interfaith messages from the scriptures?
Oh, there are many, many hymns which promote multi-faith living, and one such hymn, a famous hymn by Muslim Sufi saint Kabir, and it starts, Aval Allah Noor Paya Kudrat ke sab bande, Ek Noor te sab jag upjaya, Kaun bhale, Kaun mande. In the very beginning, God, through his divine spark, the Noor, created the light, and through Kudrat, in the very beginning, God created the divine spark, Noor, the light of all life, and through this Kudrat, the power of the infinite creator, all human beings were made. And if from this Noor, the divine light, the entire universe welled up, then how can we say or truly judge who is good and who is bad? Guru Arjan, in another example, not from the Guru Granth Sahib, but as a practical example of coexistence, he invited Sufi saint Mia Mir to lay the foundation stone of the Golden Temple, which is the holiest of holy places for the Sikhs. At Darbar Sahib Amritsar, commonly known as the Golden Temple, every day between 50 to 100,000 meals are cooked every single day. People, rich and poor, Sikhs and those from other faiths, vie with each other to be able to do seva, service of cooking, cleaning, polishing shoes of devotees, as this concept of service creates a bond between rich and poor, breaks the barriers of caste, greed, and religion, and helps us to become more humble. And as I said before, humble is not weak, it is peak. And then we have the story of Bhai Kanhaiya, when Guru Gobind Singh, small band of soldiers, was surrounded by thousands of Turkish Muslims. At that time, when there was a lull in the fighting, Bhai Kanhaiya, one of his devotees, went out giving water and bandaging the injured enemy along with his own people. Now, the soldiers, Sikh soldiers, complained to the Guru, and they said that, look, what he's doing is wrong. Why should he go and give bandages and give water to the enemy? So he was called in front of the Guru, and the Guru asked him why he was doing this. And Bhai Kanhaiya said, well, Guruji, you have taught us that we are all people of one God. And when there are people who are injured and dying, I see oneness. I don't see an enemy. I don't see that they are Sikhs or are enemies. So that's why I go out and do this. This was the advent of the first Red Cross style service in India 300 years back. much before the Red Cross was established in 1863. The Sikh kingdom of Maharaja Ranjit Singh was the most powerful, and whose kingdom went from Amritsar to the Badlands of northwest frontier provinces of Afghanistan. Because of these conquests, Ranjit Singh was able to stop invasions into India by the Afghans and Turks. But Ranjit Singh was a progressive ruler, and his courtiers included people from diverse backgrounds. His ministers were from Hindu, Muslim, and Sikh faiths, and he also had European generals in his army. His army comprised of Sikhs, Muslims, and Hindus, whom he never tried to convert to Sikhism. All these factors and examples of interfaith harmony set a precedence, and Sikhs are bound by the teachings of the Gurus to respect and protect the rights of other faiths. The principle of interfaith dialogue was thus established by the Gurus. It is also important to note that Sikh Gurus were helped and assisted throughout history by people of other faiths. Until partition of India, where Sikhs and Punjabi Hindus were the greatest losers, the eldest son from many Hindu families was made into a baptized Sikh because of the firm faith that Sikhs are defenders and protectors of all faiths. Sikhism is founded on the principle of global interfaith communities and preach the principle of interfaith respect, dialogue, and harmony. That is why, despite being only 1% of United India's population, hundreds of thousands of Sikh soldiers fought under the British for the freedom of Europe. A Sikh, meaning a disciple, a learner of truth, by definition must respect all world religions. Further, the Sikh must protect, guard, and allow the free practice of the customs and rituals of other religions.
Those were really wonderful examples of hymns from the Guru Granth Sahib that spoke of multi-faith, interfaith interaction, and also practical examples from real life where people actually practiced what they have learned from the Guru Granth Sahib. So that was absolutely wonderful examples. Could you now segue into the heritage and the Gurdwaras which have been left behind in Pakistan, like Kartarpur Sahib and Nankana Sahib?
Yes, we have many Sikh Gurdwaras, very important Gurdwaras, which have been left behind in Pakistan because of the partition of India. Like we have Panja Sahib, Nankana Sahib, and Kartarpur Sahib as well. I'll talk about Kartarpur Sahib because it's a wonderful example of interfaith coexistence as well, because the Pakistan government recently has opened up the border with India to facilitate visa-free travel to Kartarpur, one of the holiest pilgrimage places for Sikhs. Kartarpur, meaning abode of God, was established by Guru Nanak. And he worked here in his final 18 years of his life as a farmer and spreading the word of oneness of humanity. Before he passed away, Hindus wanted to cremate him and the Muslims wanted to bury him. The Guru said, "Place flowers on either side of my body, and the next day whosoever's flower is freshest can carry out their rituals." But the next day, both flowers were fresh and the body had vanished. So Hindus and Muslims divided his sheet, and Hindus cremated it, and the Muslims prepared a burial place. That was the immense love that these communities had for him, and to this day, Kartarpur retains its original name. This place, after partition of India in 1947, has been divided just by the river Satluj between India and Pakistan, and now both governments, especially the Pakistan government, have spent lavishly to upgrade the infrastructure and build a bridge to cover the divide between the two countries. Now up to 5,000 pilgrims can cross over every single day. The Pakistan government, realizing the potential of Sikh religious tourism, has been very forthcoming in expediting visas to other Sikh shrines as the birthplace of Guru Nanak, Nankana Sahib, named after Guru Nanak, and both these places have retained these names despite tensions between India and Pakistan. In fact, I've spoken to Sikhs who have gone to Pakistan, and they all speak highly of the bonhomie and love that they get from Pakistanis, as for centuries we have shared the same Punjabi language and culture with each other.
That's really wonderful to hear. What more would you like to add about the interconnectedness and oneness of all people on planet Earth?
There are so many examples that I can go on and on for several hours on this.
Okay.
But to give you one example of a hymn, is a beautiful hymn which says, Koi bole Ram Ram, koi Khudai, which basically means some call the Lord Ram Ram, some call him Khuda. And then he goes on to say, some serve him as Gosai, others as Allah. He is the cause of causes and generous. He showers his grace and mercy upon us. Some pilgrims bathe at sacred shrines, others go to Hajj, to Mecca. Some do devotional worships, while others bow their heads in prayer. Some read the scriptural books like Vedas, and some the Quran. Some wear blue robes, and some wear white. Some call themselves Turks, and some call themselves Hindus. Some yearn for paradise, and others long for heaven. Says Nanak, one who realizes hukam, or the law of the divine, knows the secret of his Lord Master. It is in our harmony, respect, and peace for humanity that we express our love for the divine and his creation. As Guru Nanak says, by mere words, union is not attained. Those who look upon all as one, only they can be known as spiritually enlightened. All Sikh prayers end with the words, Sarbat da Bhala, blessings for the well-being of the entire humanity. Pehla maran kabul kar, first accept that I will die, is what Guru Nanak says. If we accept this, that we only have a leasehold tenure on this earth and not a freehold, then we will realize that this tenure on earth is a temporary one and that we will die one day. Then in that case, we would not have any discrimination towards others, hatred towards others. Instead, we would project love, compassion towards other human beings. How little we know about each other's spiritual worldviews. We may sit in the same classroom, work in the same office, and fly in the same planes, but we remain segregated at a fundamental level. During the first waves of migrations, the racial policies pretty much forced into homogenizing matters, and recent waves, sacred spaces, sacred times are confined to ethnic ghettos and left to their individual communities. The result, we are impoverished. We have lost out on the extremely rich arabesques of images, languages, metaphysics, rituals, music, and poetry, and many other wonderful resources of our global society. Sadly, even after a century and a half, we are far from fulfilling Walt Whitman's exhortation in A Passage to India, where he says, Lo, soul, seest thou not God's purpose from the first? The earth to be spanned, connected by network, the races, neighbors to marry and be given in marriage, the oceans to be crossed, the distant brought near, the lands to be welded together. We may have triumphed in producing physical and technological networks, but we have failed in creating mental and spiritual links. We need to weld together. We need to experience the fullness of humanity and the transcendence of the divine. Together, Christians, Sikhs, Hindus, Muslims, Jews, Buddhists, Jains, men and women, we should relish the plurality and diversity of our human culture.
Thank you, Harinderji, for that wonderful talk and ideas expressed in your Love Thy Neighbour and the Oneness of Humanity talk. And a lot of very important ideas have been presented for how to live in the world now and see each other as one, as our own friends. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching the Sikhlens YouTube channel, the talks that we've had on the spiritual path in Sikhi, as well as the oneness of all humanity. Thank you very much, and do stay tuned for our future programming. Thank you.